Hey Vikings viewers, welcome to Season 2 of our Vikings Reviews.
Season 2.
I'm Devorah Roberts, video producer of the Towerlight.
I'm Murphy, photo editor for the Towerlight.
Unfortunately, Dearly Hale from last semester couldn't join us because of car issues and distance problems, but hopefully we might see her again later in the season for a couple of reviews and stuff. Let's just get straight into it.
Alright, so first off, our lovely episode title, Vikings
Intensifies.
Because that's exactly what they did this season. If we thought the end of the last season was a little lackluster, a little on a down note, they picked right back up from the beginning of this season.
There were definitely, especially in the beginning, I definitely thought that this is where they should have ended. But as we got further into the episode, I was like, it just didn't make sense. So I understand why they did it. But overall, it was just such a better episode compared to the season finale of season 1. And it was just, it kept moving and moving. And Abby and I were just kind of like, oh my god.
I have a headache. I still have a headache. I was just like, can't tell if it hurts from excitement or because there's so much that went on.
Yeah, so if we're a little all over the place, that's why, because it just kept, I kept going and going, and we kept being like, what's happening?
There was a lot of tension just this episode. It really was really intense, Tension between Ragnar and Bjorn, Ragnar and Rollo, Ragnar and Lagertha, Ragnar and Aslog and Lagertha, lots of characters, lots of tension, lots of new relationships going into the season.
But let's start at the beginning, because that's where we should have started. Let's start with Ragnar and Rollo, because that's what kicks us off. Last episode, season finale, we saw Rollo was starting to question his brother and question whether his brother really cared about him and stuff, and whether or not he really wanted him to be there. And so Rollo, they go and teams up with some other guys. I still don't know who those guys are.
Yeah, I know their names. There's Bjorn, but that's with Ragnar. I should know their names. I'm sure some lovely viewer will probably correct us and tell us what it is.
Yeah.
This is what you're here for. But yeah, it was just really intense battle scene, like covered the blood. They're trying to compete with Game of Thrones, I hear.
I think they like overdid it.
That viewer discretion advice thing was actually like needed this episode.
Yeah, like Floki was getting speared left and right. Floki.
And then that impalement that went on for a really long time.
It was like a good 30
Poor
seconds.
eye patch, dude. I liked him.
I know, he's just kind of gone now. And Rollo was going all berserker mode with his axe and the blood all over his face.
And his chest, just like, no armor, just blood.
But then the fight ends. Sorry guys, this is really confusing, I know, and we're all over the place.
This was the episode. It was really confusing.
Yeah, so they were fighting, but the fight, finally, Ragnar and Rollo, they get on the battlefield, they're facing each other, and Rollo goes, I can't. And I'm like, what?
It's just, his honor, finally got, it looks like he's almost, swearing loyalty to Ragnar.
Because he falls on his knees and
some
stuff.
very interesting parallels with the first season there, and it was kind of, heartbreaking, because he just can't, he can't fight his brother.
And you can see Ragnar is so torn up about it, too, because he didn't think Rollo was going to do this. He was so sure at the beginning of the episode.
Lots of Travis Fimmel, blue,
those blue eyes. Travis Fimmel, if you're watching this, your blue eyes are amazing. I don't think I've seen bluer eyes.
No, really haven't.
Except maybe George Blagden. You guys could probably compete.
That's on the lighting.
It depends, yeah.
But, wow, so we start off the episode with a literal bloodbath, and then while the rest of the episode didn't have that same violence and action,
it had the same intense
tension, kind of the more political kind of family drama, which is what makes Vikings a lot different than shows like Game of Thrones or something. It really shows the family and the family tension and how Vikings are people too, and they still had things like, oh gosh, sister wives, I think.
Yeah, so let's talk about that really quickly. Episode 9 of season 1, finale, I keep saying that. We saw that Aslog approaches Ragnar, and basically she's like, I want your babies.
And then she's like, I have your baby.
And now she's like, look at my baby bump. I don't know if you guys can see my stomach, but literally she just walks in and it's like a model strut,
she's a model, that's why.
Yeah, her dress was really on point in that scene. It was purple and gold, and I was like, yo, playing up the royalty.
Everybody is talking smack about Aslog, and I'm like, yo, I know Lagertha, I love Lagertha, she's my favorite character besides Athelstan, but she's so clever, and you really saw it in this episode in little more subtle ways. She walks in, first thing you see is her baby bump. She emphasizes that because that's her leverage. That's her play point. And that's how she gets Ragnar to ultimately make his decision.
Yeah. The relationship between her and Lagertha is really interesting. It's almost like two queens going at it, which it is. It is two queens going at it. but it's just very, wow. During the episode, I didn't know who was gonna win out between them.
It was neck and neck, really.
But eventually, Aslog did with Ragnar, which I wasn't surprised. He has his child. She has his child.
She's carrying his child.
Yeah, there we go. So it wasn't surprising, but it was definitely kind of like
it was a twist.
Why?
Because as viewers, you've grown so attached to Lagartha, and definitely been pushing how she's such an awesome character. Pretty much everybody is like, "Oh, are you team Ragnar? Are you team Rollo?" I was like, "Nah, I'm team Lagartha." That's been the entire show, and then you just throw Aslog in, and hope people don't hate on her because she's just doing what she has to do.
Yeah. But
it was definitely some interesting tension, and the whole kind of different class systems thing came in, which was really cool. Because Lagartha was all like, "Yeah, my parents were farmers. Yes, they were just farmers, and yes, that's awesome. Just because I'm not a princess doesn't mean I can't still be awesome."
So yeah, eventually Lagartha leaves, and that puts a really hard decision on Bjorn. Bjorn! Why? I'm so sorry, Bjorn. He has to choose between his two parents, and honestly, during this episode, I felt like Bjorn was way more mature than 12. He was being why are you guys yelling? Please stop yelling at each other.
Pretty much from the end of last season, he kind of stepped up, and he was the adult. He's like, "Guys, you have to make up." And frankly, he handled their kind of conflict better than they did. They just ended up having angry makeup sex at one point.
That was awful. I felt really uncomfortable during that scene. That was almost rape in my mind. It was basically just Ragnar pushing Lagartha against the wall, and it was just really uncomfortable.
I was just like, no, Lagartha, you deserve so much better than this. And I think it's kind of going to show how her character is going this season, from what I've seen with interviews with her.
Yeah.
Sadly. Such a great character.
There wasn't any Athelstan this episode. We saw him for he was just kind of being awkward families. What? Gita? Where are you?
The scene with
Gita. The scene with Ragnar. Why is that so out of focus?
Yeah,
did anyone?
I cried. I
was just kind of really. First of all, I was really distracted by a bunch of other stuff, and then
there was a random moment of calm in the episode where he really. This whole episode, honestly, I haven't thought that Ragnar really cared about Gita. I did not get the impression.
And then suddenly he was just talking about Gita.
And he was just talking to her, and
it was really emotional. But what was that filming? It's just what happened? I was so confused. I guess you guys. It was just I feel like they filmed it out of focus and forgot that they did it by accident.
I thought it was just kind of like a dreamlike sequence, kind of behind the veil.
I guess they were trying to give the Valhalla feel, but it's just really distracting for me. I feel like if they had just moved back between him and the sea, it would have been better.
Maybe it was a nice moment in the episode where Ragnar's pretty much a tool at this point in my mind, but it's he does still care about his other family that he's essentially chosen to abandon for Aslog at this point, although he seems to think they're kind of abandoning him, so he has issues too. He's definitely a really dynamic and interesting character, but I can't wait to see what Bjorn does.
It's really hard to choose between who am I supporting right now? Is it Ragnar? Is it Rollo? I know it's always Lagartha.
It's constant.
But yeah, so we'll see. Next episode, there's a time skip.
That's
gonna be really interesting. Hey, Kato from Hunger Games.
You're Bjorn now. Yeah, super excited what the season has in store, kind of looking at the preview at the end, and it's just there's a lot of stuff going down. If you haven't watched some of the interviews with some of the cast members, I highly recommend it, because it'll give you a nice preview of what's going to happen this season, and this cast is awesome, and you should tweet at them and everything.
So I guess that's all we have to talk about, guys.
Yeah.
Great?
Yeah, I'd give it B, maybe? I don't think it was the excellence. I don't know, it was just so good. But I'm so excited about the episode, it's hard to be objective.
I think I give it a B+, because there's just so much happening that I was frankly a little overwhelmed into the episode.
But I can see why they did, and I think it was successful, and I'm really looking forward to see the fans' reactions to the show. I know I've gotten people watching the show, including my old English professor. Oh yeah! And
shout out to Dr. Kane at Towson University.
You're pretty cool. I love your class. This isn't for extra credit at all. No, it really isn't.
We have a job, I promise you guys. This is our job.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. And I've gotten so many people watching the show, and I've been so enthusiastic, and they've been engaging with fans a lot, especially on Twitter and Facebook, and
their tweets were on point.
Very, very on point. So there's a lot of kind of rises in the fandom, and I think general populace. So be curious to see where the show and the reaction to it goes this upcoming season.
Yeah, so a lot happened this episode. I don't know if we covered it. If you have any thoughts about something we didn't cover, comment below. Subscribe, tweet us at TowerlightVideo, follow us on Facebook, and join us next week for our next review for episode 2, season 2. Bye!